Hello and welcome to this special from KGW Sunrise. I'm Nina Melhoff. In the next half hour, we'll bring you stories from this unprecedented year. The pandemic has defined 2020 globally. But what many here in the Northwest will also remember about this year are the fires that darkened our skies and made the air impossible to breathe. As that tragedy unfolded, we learned of harrowing escapes. And we're going to start with the story of one of them as the Strauch family fled for their lives. But we'll also return to the days right after the fire started when people arrived and people set their own lives aside to help others. Labor Day night, winds howled, trees falling everywhere in the pitch black, fire on both sides of the McKenzie Highway 126. This is video from a firefighter's dash cam that night. It's exactly what Lisa Strauch of Lake Oswego saw if she would have been calm enough to film it herself.
We've had cabins on the McKenzie River for 40 years. So my brother and I were third generation.
Their cabins are in the town of Rainbow, 45 miles east of Eugene. They own 3 of the 6 or 8 on Dearborn Island. It's a turn off the highway, then over a bridge, surrounded by the McKenzie River and national forest land. One way on, one way off. And just a stone's throw over the water from the Holiday Farm RV resort and wedding venue. It was a great holiday weekend with the family. Monday morning, her husband left in one car with 2 of the kids. Lisa, her mom, and her 2-year-old son stayed to hang out.
The wind started to pick up around 4. By 6:30, I was videoing the wind, and we were watching trees fall down, mostly cottonwoods. 8 o'clock, power goes out. Again, texting from the neighbors, trees down. Next thing I know, I get a phone call that they have a friend on McKenzie River Drive that heard an explosion and to hang tight. 10 minutes later, after that conversation, you need to get off the island. Everyone evacuate the island.
Neighbors think that explosion came from an electrical box not too far away. They jumped in the car to get out. But just down from the house, Lisa had to gun it up and over a downed tree, blocking the only bridge off the island.
At about milepost 42, I look to the left, and there's literally a mountain on fire.
Again, this isn't her video, but it is very close to what she saw as she clutched the wheel and was blocked by tree after tree.
The tree was down about 7 cars in front of us, and there was a bunch of civilians, a bunch of guys with trucks and chainsaws trying to, take out the tree. But we're blocked, and we know we're blocked behind us with a down power line. We have a fire on our left a couple miles back, and we have no idea what's going on.
In the daylight, you can see what they were speeding away from. The next towns over of Blue River and Vida. Nothing is left. She made it to Eugene with her son and mom that night by 10:30 p.m.
I had called my husband and said, hey, you need to call 911 in Lake Oswego. You need to tell me what to do. I don't know if I'm going to be holding him. Am I running? Are you coming to get me? How do I get out of this situation? So I have a little bit of acute stress syndrome going on in terms of protecting my family. So it definitely was scary.
We spent our second morning in a row out here in Clackamas County. Today, here in Milwaukee at the home of Hope City Church. The church was designated by Clackamas County as an official evacuation shelter for people or families that needed a place to stay this week. And they also, really by accident, became a drop-off site for needed items. We're talking food, clothing, even toys for kids. They have all that here now at the church. But again, they're also a place for families to stay. And we met one of those families today, the Singletaries, an extended family of 10. They live in Malino and Malala, and they've been out of their homes since last week. They are here now, but some nights this week were spent in their cars. And we're talking about 10 people plus 5 pets, 3 dogs and 2 cats, all of them staying in 4 cars. Needless to say, those nights were not easy.
Well, one night we were hunkered down, put blankets on. I had my pets in my car, and it actually got down to about 30-ish, and it was cold.
I'll ask your granddaughters, girls, do you find the church to be a better place to sleep at night than the parking lot of the Clackamas Town Center?
Yes.
I thought you'd say yes to that.
We have all faced tough realities this year, and many have had to pause their lives to help family members, partners, and kids. And that responsibility has fallen a lot to women. When we asked you how the pandemic has changed your life, many of you told us you think it'll take years to get back to the way it was. Well, here's how some are turning all of this challenge into finding a new direction.
And it was just really a sit down and a run of the numbers and what things would look like is really how the decision came to be. And it made sense. He made quite a bit more than I did.
That's how Ray Davenport ended up at home all day with her daughter in Longview, Washington. Ray worked as a children's after-school program manager. COVID hit and she was cut to part-time, so she left her job to focus on helping her daughter with virtual learning.
It's hard. You know, I spent 5 years in the job that I was in. I loved it. I had planned on retiring with that job.
Ray was one of 200 sharing their story when we posted the headline on Facebook. Vicki Huber was another, writing, "I'm sure I'm not the only mother who has chosen to place college education on hold due to helping their children with distance learning. This will be felt for years." Or Trudy, "I left a great job, my dream job actually, to work with my kids through online schooling. Hardest decision I've ever made." The 4 top reasons why women are leaving the workforce. Number 1, be home for kids doing online school. 2, feeling burnout, juggling work, housework, and kids being home. 3, negative feeling about job performance under so much pressure. And 4, their partner makes better money, so they keep working.
Well, it's not a surprise.
Amy Germain runs Accelerate, a Portland nonprofit for women entrepreneurs, matching them with mentors, funding, and education. 60% of her clients report feeling real distress right now.
The loss of business closures, coupled with no bandwidth, anxiety, depression, elder care, and the pressure on your own mental health well-being trying to get through an unprecedented pandemic, but women are really bearing this brunt.
Data shows mothers are 3 times as likely as fathers to be responsible for a majority of housework and childcare during COVID-19. Minority women are seeing even higher rates of unemployment and leaving the workforce. Then there are those households like Ashley Claiborne's in Roseburg. How real is this? What's the stress level for you guys?
My husband has had moments where he starts to look like Jack from The Shining, but he always pulls back.
Ashley was the one to stay working. Her husband quit his job to be home with their 2 girls.
It does make me feel a little guilty, like I'm kind of running off and getting to take a break from all that, and he's essentially stuck there.
The bright spot that could come out of this, people are realizing what truly makes them happy, and that could lead to a career change.
So I do believe that women are questioning themselves and finding new and creative ways. Women are always very resilient and will find new innovative ways to kind of survive.
Hello everyone, I'm Brenda Braxton. We have all had to make adjustments to our lives this year, and we've had to dig deep, sometimes just to make it through the week. But what we found is that communities have been resilient, people have been resilient, and we've found that life and celebrations have continued. We visited with one family in Beaverton as they shared the beautiful Indian celebration of Diwali, the Festival of Lights.
I am Anshuman and this is Bonsai.
I'm Shavi.
And I'm Manavi, and we are the Takwer family, and we are celebrating Diwali.
Diwali means Festival of Lights. It celebrates the victory of good over evil and light over darkness. It's also the start of the Hindu calendar in India.
People celebrate with lights and firecrackers and good food, and it's a thing to celebrate with family and friends.
Manavi says when she was younger, this is how her mom and dad explained it to her.
It's a nice way to combine all of the existing American festivals that we have and that I've been celebrating. You know, from 4th of July, we get the fireworks. From Thanksgiving and Christmas, the feasting, the food, the presents, and, you know, the lights and decorating. I think combining all of those together was the best way for me to visualize as a young child what Diwali exactly is.
They also decorate their house with festive lanterns and wear colorful clothing from Bengal and Kashmir.
And the biggest highlights of our celebration is what we called Arangoldi. The easiest way to explain that is it's a sand mandala, and essentially Manavi and I, we do like elaborate patterns on the floor and use colored sand and make rangolis every year. Friends and family look forward to it, to see the pictures on social media, as well as the friends that come over for dinner love to see how we came up with it. We all typically have a process, we have a concept every year, we have a theme, and then we go about it. So that's the highlight of our celebration every year, and we do it together.
Chavi, how is that changing during COVID?
It's going to be a very private affair. We're just going to celebrate within our own family, do our rituals, maybe cook something special that Manavi likes. Maybe get on Zoom with family and friends, but that's about it. Because this year we're treating Diwali a little different. It's more about giving back to the community. So we're actually doing a big fundraiser and gathering food to be able to donate to the Oregon Food Bank. And then it's also a time to reflect on how thankful we are for a lot of things that we take for granted, whether it's proximity, whether it's health, whether it's happiness, whether it's life. I mean, whatever has happened to us this year has taught us a lot. And I hope that for our next year's celebration, we're able to bring the learning, bring the gratitude, and just become better human beings.
So happy Diwali!
Diwali Mubarak ho is what we would say in Hindi.
And here's to more light for all of us.
This year, of course, was also an election year. And besides the significance of this year's election, 2020 also marked the 101st anniversary of women in this country getting the right to vote. Who better, locally, to help us tell that story than Oregon's first ever female governor, Barbara Roberts.
So the heroine of the story in Oregon of women getting the right to vote is Abigail Scott Duniway. And here is a handwritten letter to Abigail from Susan B. Anthony. This document right here is just one of the most historic documents we have in this exhibit. Governor Oswald West gives Abigail the honor of writing the proclamation that women have the right to vote, and this is that proclamation. This photograph was taken last year at the swearing in of Bev Clarno. That swearing in made it the first time in Oregon history where 4 of the top 5 statewide elected officials were women.
Nevertheless, they persisted. Women's voting rights and the 19th Amendment. That's the name of this exhibit that you can see right now at the Oregon Historical Society. And this is the executive director for nearly 10 years now, Carrie Timchuk. What would you say is the big takeaway people will get from this exhibit?
This exhibit tells the story of how women fought for years and years and years and decades to get the right, that basic right, the right to vote. And what better year than election year to tell people about the importance of voting and to encourage them to vote.
Here we have another piece of history from the exhibit, the very dress that Governor Barbara Roberts wore for her inauguration back in 1991. Man, what I wouldn't give to ask the governor a few questions right now.
Office of Governor. Ask away.
Now, the viewers can't see that I'm smiling. Obviously, I knew the governor was going to be here. And my first question for you, Governor Roberts, is this. How important would you say the female vote was to you getting in office back in the early 90s?
Well, it certainly was a factor. A lot of older women, a lot of what we call blue hairs, they were so excited because they were going to get to vote for a woman for governor. And then a lot of the young women were excited because it was a first.
I know that the governor can speak as well as anyone to how important the Oregon Historical Society is.
Well, for me personally, my heart is in this building. You know that here are important parts of history, but also painful parts of history. There is nothing in this building that is not, in a way, in my mind, sacred.
We cover all of Oregon history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, we're not trying to make people feel guilty about what happened here 150 years ago, 100 years ago. But people need to know what happened here and how that impacts history today, the ripples and repercussions. As the exhibit says, nevertheless, they persisted. And we will continue to persist and persevere to share Oregon's history with everybody.
If you watch KGW Sunrise, you know we like to send our fantastic photojournalists out into the world each morning. So coming up next, Eric Patterson brings us a moment of Zen. Then after the break, a few fun moments from our sometimes almost out of control streaming show. We call it Sunrise Extra.
My gosh, speaking of New Yorker, we did a story yesterday on this new Italian market in the Pearl. Yes. And you know how you can buy pizza by the slice or a whole pie or whatever. She, in her soundbite, said, we have pizza by the cut. And it nearly sent our video editor, Jay Lundenberg, from New York City into a conniption fit because he was like, what's pizza by the cut? Is it not by the slice? You can't have it by the cut.
I haven't heard that before. It did. Poison Waters with us this morning on the show. Drag queen extraordinaire.
I think I'm crooked.
Well, now you're out of the picture.
No, I gotta go more this way.
Yep. There you go. That is some big hair.
So I personally not all that familiar with the concept of the drag queen brunch. So you had to explain how this works and how it's going to look on Sunday.
Well, sure. So Drew, just to break it down for you, drag queen brunch is brunch with drag queen. It's very simple.
What are you doing with all of your nervous? There you go. Zoom out. What are you doing with all of your nervous energy? And I want to show you the random weirdness that I've been doing. Yeah. These are sweatshirts on the top that I folded and
well, what else would they just be in a clump otherwise?
I'm telling you, my Virgo heart is singing.
You love it, right?
That. I love that organization.
I love it too. It's kind of a sickness.
Good, right. And so she's gonna do a show and tell right now, and we're just gonna come on, let's do it.
Oh, I love this.
I have no clue what this is, so we're gonna see.
She's got so much energy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
I love the Brian doesn't know what snow change is.
I don't want you to be late for work or anything, but
I use this interview as an excuse, thank God.
Yeah, the first time on live TV, right? And you've done a great job.
Thank you so much. I am a natural, I have to say.
She is a natural. Look at that. Well, hey, you have a wonderful day. Good luck.
Hello everyone, I'm Rod Hill. We are so blessed to live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Here on KGW News at Sunrise, we ask you to share with us what makes this place so special. Well, that's where we got the idea to head out to the beautiful Willamette Valley wine country and visit Laurel Vineyards.
I want to say it's a beautiful day. It is raining a little bit right now. But Tom, tell me where we're at in the harvest season right now.
Yeah, so we actually just completed picking the last of our grapes just maybe about a week ago.
What is your claim to fame?
I would say Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir, which is why you're in Oregon.
It is, yeah.
Do you ever come out and, is that a tasting process? You're like, oh, let's give them another 5 days on the vine.
Definitely.
Do you do that?
Yes. We're measuring sugar and acid. We're tasting for flavor development.
Juicy and ripe. It's such a science. I'm picturing myself out in the vineyard going, yeah, that grape tastes pretty good. Let's go, boys.
It's kind of art and science combined. It's kind of 50-50. So what we are going to do here is a punch down, which allows us to push the skins down to submerge them into the wine. See the wine there below? To create more time of contact, to extract more color, tannin, and other things out of the skins. No feet in your wine. This is our Chardonnay. It's actually fermenting in barrel.
It's tart to me still.
It is, yes, good point. So
I'm doing well.
We've all noticed
estate on the labeling.
We're a single vineyard estate, so we don't have multiple properties. We just have this one property. Everything we make, we grow right here.
It's all in the wrist. Is that it right there?
It just coats the glass to create a larger surface area to smell the aromas of the wine.
I'm going to ask how much this is a bottle because I really like this.
This is exciting. Tell us about the new tasting room.
Yeah, so our brand new tasting room will open on the 16th of November, which is just about a month away. It's a beautiful new space that just overlooks the Chehalem Mountains, and it's, less than 25 miles from Portland.
Say good morning to Dakota and Cubby, two of the bears, the black bears, that call the Oregon Zoo home. And say good morning as well to our guest here. This morning we have Celeste Edinger. She is part of the animal care staff here at the zoo's Great Northwest area. So how did you figure out that they were going to enjoy the water in these tubs so much?
We weren't sure, but we like to try new things, and Dakota especially just loved it. He just loves to play, he loves to splash, splashes around and he'll spin in circles on his back. He loves it.
So Dakota's kind of been the star of this segment so far. Let's talk about him a little bit because he's the youngest of the 4 bears that call the zoo home. 10 years old. He's been here for 10 years, but he wasn't born here. So how did he end up here at the Oregon Zoo?
Correct. He was actually orphaned, found orphaned in Montana. And he was brought in and they tried to rehab him, but he failed black bear school. And so he was brought here. And we were lucky that he was accepted very quickly and was able to live comfortably with these bears.
I know the one bear that really accepted Dakota when he arrived here was one of the older males, Cubby.
Yeah, so Cubby he's kind of our dominant male. He was actually the first to approach Dakota and accept him, but Dakota was very frisky, very high active because he was young. And Cubby would just kind of sit there and let him do what he wanted.
A lot of times, Celeste, when we do a Drew at the Zoo segment, we'll talk about an animal that's endangered and how the zoo is helping those endangered animals. Not really the case with black bears. In fact, their numbers have actually been increasing in a lot of areas, or at least holding steady.
Yeah, so North American black bears, their numbers in the wild are actually really healthy. But we do still help them in a way by taking in orphans. So we still do help those animals in the wild.
I'd like to point out the fact that even when the zoo was closed for all those months, you kept coming, you didn't stop doing your jobs. What was it like then to just really be with the animals and not have any of the guests like we have today?
It was different. It was very different. We kind of missed that one-on-one time with the guests and sharing our animals with them. Just the reactions and people's responses to what they see us doing. It just reminds us of how amazing our jobs actually are. So it's nice to have people back.
We want to thank you for making KGW Sunrise part of your mornings. As we look back at this year and look forward to the next, we're always thankful for the stories that you share with us. If you'd like to see more of the stories from our community and all of our Sunrise Extra shows, we have a playlist on the KGW YouTube page. Just search Sunrise. Thank you for joining us for this KGW Sunrise Community Special. I'm Brenda Braxton.